Hi everyone, and welcome back to Wonder Freely. Today I also want to welcome you into my tiny RV kitchen. I thought that we would do a tour together. I really have a couple of main goals for this tour. One is to show you what is actually in my cupboards and drawers and how I organize it. The second goal is so that you can see just how minimal, or maybe you may think not so minimal, we live here in the RV. So what kind of appliances actually made the cut and so forth. And then thirdly, I also want to show you I have not in any way staged my cupboards. So you are going to see exactly what they look like for travel days as well. So I'll give you a couple of tips and things that I do for travel days, but for the most part you're going to see how a kitchen looks that's able to travel without problems. So let's take a closer look at our RV kitchen together. Let's get started with just what's on top of my counters, and you'll see I still have some dishes drying from lunch, and that's very, very typical here. There are almost always dishes here drying, and I'm kind of okay with that because the nice thing is then we reuse a lot of the same dishes. So like, you know, you wash your dishes after breakfast, I put them in here, and a lot of times they don't even go back into the drawer before we're using them again. So it's actually kind of efficient because we only have 2 plates, but I did put them back in the drawer this time just so I can show you how they nest together. But it does work out pretty well, better than I thought. Now over in this corner, if we're not moving anytime very soon, then I will end up with some produce here on the countertop, and then I just find places for that once we move. But I don't keep as much if we're like moving the next day. You know, I try to make sure we go through it. And then we added that shelf like a year, I don't know, maybe 6, yeah, I think about a year into it. And I just use that for things I want to get to quickly. I leave that there, you know, because it has this nice kind of fencing action going on, so I don't have to worry about that. That can stay there. Now, let's get started with the cupboards themselves. The very first one, oh, Chris built me these. They are literally like cardboard that he took and put, how did you do this, Chris? He's just working. White duct tape, okay. He used white duct tape on them and then just kind of attached them to the inside, so that now I can actually put my spices there. That was something that drove me nuts for like a year. Every time we would travel, my spices would be on the ground. And I know that you can buy a lot of stuff for these purposes, but I didn't want to buy a lot of stuff. I don't know, I just didn't. I figure we could figure it out ourselves. So this is my tall cabinet. So I have things like my blender. You'll see there are just a few appliances that I have, my tea kettle, and then strainers back here. And that's it. That's all I have in that cabinet. I used to also keep my food processor in there, and then I broke, when we were moving off the one time, it was awful. The one time that we were moving off, I broke we were winterizing and I broke part of it, and they still have not sent me the replacement. It's been a year now, and I'm still fighting to get it because I paid for it, of course, and they still haven't mailed it to me. But anyway, these shelves originally were full height, but then we put this board in. Well, Chris did. I have 4 here. We put it in 3 so that we'd have extra space because I didn't need all those tall cabinets, and then the last one we left tall. So you can see up here I have just a few containers, and I do use them. I don't like plastic, so I use glass. And then I keep things like any grains that we eat, like some quinoa, some rice pasta, some regular rice. Keep that up there, and I have a bag of onions right now. Couple more spices, as you can tell. I have my more nifty spices, bless you, Chris.
Thank you.
And my lids for all my glass jars. We'll get into that in a little bit later. But that's what these are looking like, and you'll see it looks kind of packed in here. And that is like my biggest advice to anybody with an RV is the tighter you keep your cabinets in terms, bless you. Sorry. Goodness, that's all right. We don't mind. We both live here. It's a tiny space. If he sneezes, it's in my video. That's just the way it is. Anyway, the tighter you keep these, the less things will move around when you're actually moving and on the road. So it actually works out well. And then this is just extra stuff from like my baking. I have this little bin here. That's all baking stuff for me. And then Chris, because you know he loves these. He loves that. The little bungee cords. So he just attached this here and on the back, and then put a bungee cord across, so I can easily take this off and just bring the whole basket out when I want to do any baking. So that's getting started with those first few cabinets. Moving down to the next set, and you'll see we never painted inside our cabinets. That is the original wallpaper that was everywhere, and then we didn't paint the inside, we just painted the outside, just so you know. So anyway, then another little tiny appliance, my hand mixer. Some other things, there's coconut milk back there. I try to keep this stuff together. I also try to mix up so it's not all glass on glass. I try to mix in some items that are plastic, you know, to mix in there so it's not all clanging together. And then those are just tea, and I think that's more rice and a couple other items there. This one is where I keep things that are taller, like the oil, the gelatin, our water bottles. I think I have a big thing of apple cider vinegar back there. Yeah, some bone broth, that kind of stuff. So that is my tall cabinet, and that's the rest of my top ones. Let's take a look at the bottom. Now, on the cabinets below the countertop, next to my stove, this is a nice cabinet that's kind of big. It's a good one for putting in your baking dishes. So I literally have one cutting board that gets really, really beat up. I started with a different one originally, and then got to a point where I just threw that one out and started over, because my cutting boards do get really beat up. But here I have a baking dish. And I have a small, this is kind of funny, this is a small like cookie sheet, but it was funny when we first left, I brought my regular cookie sheet here, and then I realized it didn't actually fit into the oven. And I figured that out on the road, so I think I donated that somewhere and then just bought a little one. That's it for baking. I mean, literally that's all I work with, and it works out just fine. This is also where I keep these, and you can see I have a tall, like measuring cup thing, and then obviously the oven mitts and stuff like that are all in that cupboard. That one takes a beating, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, now let's get into our actual dishes. So what did we actually bring here? This is more to show you how it's organized and what we brought. I definitely brought a lot of little stuff, but some of it I do use and some I don't. I use this all the time with cooking, so it's right here closest to the stove for me. And then you see some other little things. My metal straws. I love using a straw, but I hate to buy the plastic one, so I use a stainless steel one. But anyway, can opener, and then for silverware, we have two kind of steak knives, one little like paring knife almost. And then I have two choppers as well in the other drawer. We'll show you in a minute. And then I just have a couple of spoons and a couple of forks. Not a lot. When we left originally, we had 2 forks, and my mother was like, Jen, seriously, you should take more forks than that. But I did not listen to her, and then I ended up having to buy some at Walmart. So listen to your mother. That's the lesson learned. So here are my 2 chopping knives, 2 bigger ones. And I have, like, you know, the other things. But basically, this drawer was set up with measuring cups and stuff, was set up as if I could fit it on here, fine, and then anything else had to go. So I only have, like, you know, one of each thing, and that's it. That was all the space I was going to use for it. This drawer, I know you guys are all going to panic. You're going to be like, what? Why do you leave your glasses in there like that? I do, and they don't even break. It's some sort of miracle. When we first left, I actually took, like, felt pieces and glued them using a hot glue gun to shape around all my glasses, all my, you know, cups, everything. And then we used them for like 3 months, and then I would get lazy and stop putting them in, and nothing was breaking, so eventually I just threw out the felt things. So, I don't know. It's up to you. But I've never had a problem. Like I said, I try to keep this somewhat full. We have a couple of dishes that are out right now, so they'll go in here. So it stays kind of full, and they just, I mean, we use our, like, the mason jars all the time for stuff. What I love about them is we use them just as drinking glasses, but then I can store food in these, and you can even freeze food in these. If you did not know that, you can. And that's why I had those lids up above that I mentioned. I showed you those white plastic lids. Those are actually freezer proof. So if we have leftovers and stuff, I'll throw them in there. If I want to if I make bone broth, you know, it's just so easy. It's so convenient. So that's what I use there. And then our other dishes are just 2 plates. I think we had 2 bowls for the longest time, and then finally I got 2 more because I wanted deeper ones. You'll see it's a total, like, mix match of dishes. These are ones that my mom had left over from different things, and she just happened to have a few, so I just borrowed stuff. I didn't buy anything dish-wise when we started out. So that's that. And like I said, it works out pretty well, even with just the 2 dishes, because you wash them right away and then they're ready to go. Down here I have 2 bowls. Big ones. A glass one, and then this metal one. And then for stovetop cooking, again, it's very minimal. I have a small pan. I like that for like eggs and anything small, or if I want to reheat something. A large one, and then I have a pot. And I only have that 1 pot and these 2 pans. So I'm kind of curious to hear what all of you have to say about this, because I'm wondering how much stuff that you keep. But that's it, and they stay in there and they're just fine to travel. Now, this side of our kitchen is a little more just straight up functional and cleaning, and kind of houses everything else. So this was actually just like, you know, a false drawer. But is that what they call them, Chris? False drawer?
Yeah.
Like this one? Okay. Yeah, false drawer. But Chris actually cut it off for me, and then he built in, this is just cardboard. It was a shoebox, literally. And I used this. He attached it just with duct tape. It's simple little things like this that, like, it doesn't have to look great. It looks fine. You know, you don't even see that ever. So, but it allows me a place to put extra dish towels and, you know, washcloths and things like that, so that I have, once they're clean, I have a place to keep them that's out of the way. So that's what that serves as. Here we have this cabinet, which houses all the kind of utilitarian items. So, like, you know, sandwich bags and freezer bags. I do have gallon ones. These are extra trash bags, like regular kitchen size. It's a 13-gallon. That's the biggest that we have. And then, you know, just extra stuff that you need. If we have any drinks that are not refrigerated, which is very rare, but lately Chris has been enjoying ginger ale, so it's under there. And some plastic, or paper plates, I mean, which I try to use minimally, but we do use them from time to time. This is just my cleaner. And this is some distilled water for, I use that in my diffuser, so I keep it under there. For the other side of that same cabinet, I have, this is where I always keep my dish towel. That's right under my sink. This is our trash can. I won't really show you our trash, but behind there I keep all of our extra bags from grocery shopping, and that is what we actually use in our trash can as trash bags as much as possible. We do have those blue bags. Every once in a while we'll use those, like I said, to just, you know, if we need extra. And then I made sure, so I keep a couple things out here, what I use to actually clean the dishes, and then my rag and hand soap and dish soap here as well. And then, so what I do with those is on travel days I need a place to put them, because you have to consider that stuff too. Even though you're going to want it out most of the time, you need a place to store that for travel days, and so that's why there's some extra room here. So then this fits together nice and snug on travel days, and nothing moves. Now, also for moving day, what I do is I always clean my sink right before moving, and then I take our little dish strainer here and put it in the sink along with the mat that it sits on. So then everything will be off my counters when we move. There is one more part of our actual kitchen where there is storage. It's below our refrigerator, close to the ground, which is always kind of a hassle to get to, but because of that, I try to use it you know, for something that maybe I don't use as much of. So I fill this with canned goods. That's where I keep all them, and things that are big, like my big coconut oil pail, or, you know, something like that, where I can leave it down there and it's not a big deal. And also then, even on moving day, I'm not concerned about any of the items that are in there. The only other place that I keep food items is over here above my desk. Obviously we have, the Berkey sits here on my desk, so we have our purified water. But these 2 cabinets above my desk, we have more cabinets, and they have, when we first left, I wasn't sure what I was going to be able to find on the road, so I really stocked all of these full of food. But now I just don't have that luxury. These are now my business ones. So I just have these 2, plus I know how to shop now on the road. It's easier than I thought it was going to be. So this one you can see is pretty empty. I need to fill that up before we would move and just make sure, you know, even if I don't have something, I can put a bowl in there or a dish in there to fill that space so those things aren't moving around. But yeah, there's a bag of potatoes. And this side, again, this is like our snack bin side. So Chris has Cliff bars and I have some Epic bars, and I usually have Lara bars too. And then there's some kinds of chips or something in there. Some little things. So that becomes our snack bin. Thanks so much for joining me for this tour of our RV tiny kitchen. I hope I didn't shock you too much with some of the things that I do put or don't put in the drawers and cupboards and how I store things. I think what you'll find is, you know, we were people that started with zero experience in an RV, and we've lasted over 2 years without any problems. And we were really cautioned on getting, we saw a lot of people, a lot of the information out there was not to get a rear kitchen because of it bouncing along the road and it caused issues for people. We have never had a problem with things breaking in our RV, and like as you've seen, I don't do anything all that special, you know. So and we, in our first year, we were in almost, I think it was like almost 35 states. So keep that in mind. We've covered a lot of ground, and we have never had a problem with our rear kitchen. The advantage of having the rear kitchen is it's a lot bigger and allows you more counter space, and that's why we chose it, because I cook a lot. So thanks for joining me for this tour. I hope you learned something. Put your comments and any tips that you have from your kitchen, put it in the comments below, and then that way we can share with other people who are new to this or are planning a trip for a year and really want to learn, you know, how to make this work for them. So I hope this tour was helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.